Ronny Jackson, Admiral Dr, is one of the finest men that I've met over the last long period of time. High quality.
White House doctor Rear Admiral Ronny Jackson withdrew from consideration as Secretary of Veterans Affairs on Thursday amid allegations that he drank excessively on the job and oversaw a hostile working environment in the White House medical office. Jackson maintains the allegations are false, as does the president.
I called him today. I said, in a certain way, you're in a very big way, you're an American hero, because you've exposed the system for some horrible things. I've had it happen to me with the Russian collusion hoax. It's a hoax. But I came into the job understanding that things happen. He didn't. He's a great doctor. He's a great admiral. He didn't really think a thing like this could happen. And I think it's a disgrace.
Jackson's withdrawal, the 24th failed nomination of the Trump administration, capped a week that also saw EPA Chief Scott Pruitt go to Congress to deny mounting ethics allegations, and acting chief of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Mick Mulvaney, admit that as a congressman, he only listened to lobbyists if they contributed to his campaigns. Jonathan and Jason are back with me, and joining now is political marketing consultant Tara Dowdell and Jimmy Williams, host of the Decode DC podcast. And Jimmy, you're at a disadvantage because you're not here at the table, so I'm gonna go to you on this first, because this is a weird story for a lot of us. We were just talking at the table, Tara and Jonathan and I, that as far as we knew from Obama administration people, when you know, Ronny Jackson first stirred up controversy by saying Trump was healthy as a horse, the sort of head-scratching comments you got from Obama era people he was very well liked during the Obama era. So all of these allegations really did sort of strike a lot of people as odd. Trump was tweeting this morning that John Tester, the senator who put all these things out, should resign because, as he said, the things are proving false. The Secret Service is unable to confirm or deny any of the phony Democrat charges that have absolutely devastated this wonderful Jackson family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What do you make of this? Does this strike you as weird?
Well, I mean, I think if that's the case, then the President of the United States should renominate Ronny Jackson. If all of these things are simply untrue and completely fabricated and made up by those awful, terrible liberal Democrats, then President Trump should renominate Admiral Jackson for the position and have Admiral Jackson go before the Veterans Affairs Committee and the full United States Senate and make his case if he's so innocent. And if he is, mazel tov, he will become the next VA secretary. I want to put this in context, though. There's something important here. From 1867 until 1993, not a single president had to withdraw a nomination. Not until Bill Clinton became president, and two of his first picks for Attorney General had to withdraw because they hired undocumented workers for nannies. Then you go to George Bush. Two of his nominees had to withdraw. Then you get to Barack Obama. Remember Tom Daschle? Remember the former Senate Majority Leader had to withdraw his nomination for HHS Secretary because he didn't pay taxes on his driver? Oh my God, the heresy. And here we are having a conversation about whether or not an admiral drinks or doesn't drink on the job. If in fact you are qualified, what are you scared of? Go before the United States Senate and tell them your story. Let the investigators and the Senate staff do their jobs, and if you're qualified, you'll win. If you aren't, you won't. This is not some sort of new political idea. That's
very interesting. And Tara, you know, just to make it button up all the ironies, one of those nominees that had to withdraw that Jim is referring to is Kimball Wood, who's now the federal judge who's overseeing the Stormy Daniels case. Right. So it all converges in the history of our minds. Give me your take on this, because is Donald Trump, you know the man, is he the type of person who would do what Jimmy Williams just said? If he really believes in him and he's out there tweeting in Ronny Jackson's favor, Ronny Jackson declared him the healthiest, you know, president, ever, or whatever, he, and really has helped him out. Is he the kind of guy who would go back and double down and say, I'm renominating this guy?
I think it depends. But the problem for him right now is that he has so many fires going on in his administration. Yeah. It's literally a frat house right now. So there's Scott Pruitt over here. He's on fire. They have, there's Zinke, who no one's talking about, Ryan Zinke, and all of his issues. So there's all these fires. So I think he has to pick and choose who he can double down on. And right now he's decided that he's going to defend and double down on corrupt Scott Pruitt, because Scott Pruitt is effectively carrying out his agenda of allowing polluters to run free across the United United States.
Right.
So because of that, he's decided that's where he's going to expend the capital.
Yeah.
But he understands that, even Trump understands that he only has a certain amount of capital to expend. So which dumpster fire do I allow to continue to blaze?
Yeah, I choose to choose the dumpster fire that is the phone booth. The Scott Pruitt phone booth story is probably my favorite Donald Trump era story. This is Scott Pruitt answering a question by Representative Tony Cardenas about his infamous super secure, like Superman phone booth that he had installed in his office for $43,000. Take a listen.
I did have a phone call that came in of a sensitive nature, and I did not have access to secure communications. I gave direction to my staff to address that. And out of that came a $43,000 expenditure that I did not approve. That is something that should
Okay, so
not
you're not taking responsibility for the $43,000 that was spent in your office. You're saying that staff did it without your knowledge?
Career individuals at the agency took that process through and signed off on it all the way through.
I'm going to hold Jimmy Williams back, who used to be staff, because I know he's probably going to be jumping out of his skin that staff is being blamed. But I have to come to you first on this, Jonathan. What do you make of the Pruitt staff did it defense?
Oh, that's so lame. I mean, come on. You're going to throw... And notice, he didn't just say staff. He said career staff.
The career people, the Obama
He blamed it on the people who have been there and will be there long after he's gone.
Right.
That's lame, it's trifling, it's all those things. You know, to go back to Ronny Jackson, Dr. Ronny Jackson, the key word is qualified. I've talked to Obama-era people, and I've been hearing about Dr. Ronny Jackson for a long time.
Yeah.
They loved him. Everybody loved Ronny Jackson, but there was something kind of strange about the controversy being whipped up. And when Senator Tester came out there and said, well, you know, he handed out pills and he was called the Candyman. Look, from what I know from presidential travel and talk to people who have actually done it, I've not actually done it, but those long-haul overseas flights, you better believe that they will hand out Ambien and other things to make sure that people are awake or can sleep and can do their jobs.
Yeah.
And so when that came out, I thought, this is odd. This doesn't make sense. And so to Jimmy's point, if Ronny Jackson, if Dr. Jackson is qualified, if he is indeed the person who should be the head of the VA, President Trump should renominate him, but he's not, because those same people who love Dr. Ronny Jackson are also the same people who are telling me, well, he has no business running an agency.
Right. And it is complicated, Jason, because you have the Washington Post coming out and saying that the White House and the Secret Service have denied some of the allegations against Dr. Jackson. The White House has said there's no evidence that he wrecked a vehicle, for instance, as the president's physician. The White House on Friday said officials had conducted a thorough review of presidential physician Ronny Jackson's vehicle records, found 3 minor incidents, but no evidence that he wrecked a car. The Secret Service also said there's no evidence of an incident where the Secret Service had to intervene when Jackson was banging on a female official's hotel room in an overseas trip. So if it's not 100% clear, whereas the Pruitt phone booth is real. Like the Pruitt phone booth, it's a real crazy phone booth. Like, right? So what does the White House do at this point?
Well, you know, there's two things here. You know, in the case of Scott Pruitt, look, this guy is going to trips. He's got hotel rooms. He obviously shops at the same place as Ben Carson, $40,000 phone booths, $31,000 chairs. I don't know what Crate and Barrel they're going to. It seems like he's got really high prices. But here's the thing, and several people have said this, and I agree. If I am Ronny Jackson, I am going to defend myself. You got people out there basically saying I'm Dr. Feelgood and that, you know, that I'm handing out pills to everybody on campus. And that literally, that's not just a problem as far as him getting this nomination, but you can lose your license for that as a doctor if that kind of accusation is out there. So I think it's strange that he's not choosing to defend himself against these kinds of allegations. But I'll also say this, and this goes back to this sort of our overall theme of what this means about this administration. It's all about our president. It's all about his lack of vetting. It's all about the fact that he picks people for positions because he likes them. And at the end of the day, when they get in trouble, what did he say? He always brings it back to himself. He's like, oh, this is the same thing as Russia. Trump is the guy who visits you in the hospital and talks about his bad day. And so every single time one of these things happens, it's an indicator of his own failure to be a good executive.
Oh, my God. Okay, Jimmy, I know you've been chomping at the bit to defend the staff in the deep state, so go for it. The deep state is who's taking it.
I guess my theory on this is, as a former Senate staffer, I did everything I ever possibly could to make sure that the information I gave to my boss, my senator, was right on. It was spot on, okay? And if I ever didn't, then, which I never did, but if I ever had done that, I would have taken the blame for that. But you know who would have taken the public blame? the senator would have.
Right.
Because it starts at the top. That's the entire point of someone being called the honorable and me just being a staffer. Don't blame your staff. Blame your own incompetence and ineptitude. And I would say exactly the same thing about George Bush's 2 nominees that withdrew. Blame George Bush. And the same thing for Barack Obama. And the same thing for Bill Clinton. You're the president. Own your junk and stop blaming staff. That's a wussified way of going about it.
Jonathan, Tara, and Jimmy are all fired up and sticking around. Jason Johnson, we're going to release you to go and have the rest of your Saturday. Thank you very much. And coming